Okay. So in the new chapter, we are covering some new forms, and these forms are form 7 and 8. It says here it is 7, 8, 9, and 10. You could sort of consider them as a group. They all begin with alif. Slightly different from the aslama yuslimu or af'ala yuf'ilu, because the alif is known as hamzatul qati', but this one is known as hamzatul wasl. So there's a difference. What it means is it means there are different types of hamzas. Hamzatul wasl we mentioned before. If the word before it, we don't pronounce the hamza. So also it mentions that in imperfect, in mudare, all except form, this talking about form 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, and 10 here. Talking about that. So it says all of these in imperfect take kasra except the form 6. Sorry, form 9. Right, the middle radical, the second radical, second root letter on these in mudare will take kasra, as we will cover. So first he does covers form 6. So again, if we mark it the way we normally do, so first he mentions the third person, so he's talking about huwa. Here, he always does that. Then is anta, second person, and anti, and then ana. Okay, it gives you, and again, I've sent you the website, so if you want a full scale, you can put these verbs in the website, and then it will give you the full conjugation. So first of all, it says in kasara means to break, and in intransitive. So this verb is on the scale of infa'ala. So obviously, as you could know, fa'ala is the root letters. Alif and noon are the additional letters in this verb form. So it starts off with the madi, perfect. It says ana in kasartu, anta in kasarta. So it's going to be antuma and in kasartuma, antum in kasartum, anti in kasarti, antuma in kasartuma, and so forth. Huwa in kasara, huma in kasara, hum in kasaru, hiya in kasarat, huma in kasarata, and so forth. That's madi. And then in mudare, which is here, it's telling you that it's gonna be ana ankasiru, anta tankasiru, anti tankasirina. So here, obviously, when you add the alamat al-mudare, the sign of mudare, which is ta, ya, alif, noon, and so forth, you're still gonna add noon to it. It's gonna become ana ankasiru, nahnu nankasiru.
So the verb was in fala. But
Yes.
when we are coming to present tense, we are dropping the alif, and to the noon we are adding the prefix.
Yes. So if you want to write down this in fa'ala, let me 1 second. Let me get my pen out. Yes, exactly. So if you want to write a full verb like this, the way it conjugates, I have to one second. So if you was to write the sentence, the verb will be in fa'ala, in fa'ala, yanfa'ilu. Okay, and then you conjunct, make conjunction there. Yes, so the alif only is in the past. So ana ankasiru, nahnu nankasiru, anta tankasiru, antuma tankasirani, antum tankasiruna, anti tankasirina, and so forth. Okay, and then obviously this is mansub when you have an in front of you and so forth. And this is Yusuf, so this is when you want to say don't do this, negation. La tankasir, do not break, and so forth. Then imperfect is inkasir. Okay, so you just take tankasiru, and tankasiru. You drop the mudare, you make the last letter. It's not very good. So anta tankasiru, right? So you make this majzoom, so you move that, it becomes tankasir. Then you remove the alamat al-mudari, then you're forced to add an alif because noon has a spoon and it needs a word jointry. So you add alif, and as we've done the rules in the simple verb form one, it needs if it doesn't have a dhamma in the second root letter, you have the fatahiyya, then it must take the alif must take a kasra. And this is the difference between these forms and form 4, because form 4 it was hamzatul qata', which means it doesn't drop. So what happened when, for example, anta tuf'ilu, right? This is form 4. So when you make it drops, make a schoon, it becomes tuf'il. And when you drop the alamat al-mudari, what happens? The initial hamza, which was af'ala yuf'ilu, that comes out. It's no, that's why it's hamza al-qatr. You don't add hamza al-wasl. Does that make sense?
Sir, I didn't get it.
Okay, the only thing I'm saying is that when we done chapter the verb form 4, what was the difference between that and this? When we done the fi'l amr, what's the difference? What's fi'l amr for form 4? You don't know?
Ijlis. Ajlis.
Yeah, ajlis. Ajlis is totally wrong. If you say ajlis, it's form 1, ajlis, right?
Yes, sir. Ajlis.
Okay. Now the question is, and what was the mudare for this?
So form 4.
Yes. If you say anta, what do you say? What would you say?
Anta tujlisu.
Right? Tujlisu. Tujlisu. Right? That's why it was. So when we make this into mudare, what's the rule? We make a schoon first, right?
Yeah.
So we make a schoon. So this goes, dhamma goes, becomes tujlis, and what happens then? The alamatul mudari goes, the ta will go, right? And then jim has a sukun. So we normally we would be forced to add a hamza, and what would we add? We would add a kasra because we would look at the middle letter, right? And
Yes, sir.
and the hamza that would add, which we would add hamza. So it was, we mentioned we got up to here. Now what's the haraka we would add on alif? Normally we add kasra because we look at the middle letter. If it's not dhamma, we add a kasra. But in the form 4, we didn't add a kasra, we added fatha. Why did we add a fatha? Because this hamza is known as hamzatul qata'. So when we delete the alamatul mudari in form 4, the original hamza, which was part of the verb, which was part of af'ala, that comes out. Does it make sense?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So imperative is inkasir, inkasira, inkasiru, inkasirat, inkasirata. Sorry, not inkasirat. Inkasar, inkasir, inkasira, inkasiru, inkasiri, anti inkasiri, and so forth. And also the ism file is munkasirun, active participle, passive participle munkasarun. I've already mentioned it before. So normally you add meme, then you add kasra for the second letter in file, and fatha on the second letter, munkasa, munkasarun for passive. This verbal noun is inkisarun. Passive, which it says is used rarely, is unkasira, and for perfect is yunkasaru. Why is it rare? Because this verb is already intransitive, which means it doesn't require a subject, so it's rare to use its passive. So, okay, so the meaning is the first one. He says that normally it's passive. It's normally like a passive form of form 1. So form 1, kashawa means to uncover. In kashawa means to be uncovered, right? Kasara to means is to break. In kasara means to break, but the difference is this is intransitive. So for example, here it's going to be kasara al waladu ma'idatan. The boy broke the table. The boy is the file here, the doer. Here it's like a passive, so it's not going to require a subject. So it's going to be inkashafat ma'idatu. The table broke. That's the difference. Does that make sense? Al-Ma'idah. Aqadah means to hold, like hold meetings, conferences. In aqada, to be held. So you could say aqada ar-rajulu ijtima'an, the man held a meeting. And for this, you just say, for in aqada, you say in qada'a ijtima'un, a meeting was held. So this is like a passive form. Qalaba means to overturn. In qalaba means to be overturned or reversed. Okay. It says, however, it gives an exception. It's always use an exception in this sort of stuff. In sarafa, this is also form 6, form 7, sorry. It means to go off or depart. This is not passive, this is active, isn't it? So that's an exception he gives. Can you still see my screen?
So now your screen is moving. Previously it was frozen.
Okay, you should have told me because I was explaining, but okay. Does that make sense? What's the meaning pattern of form 7?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So here it just gives a subtle difference. It says in more modern Arabic, colloquial Arabic, the form the passive of form 1, which is kushifa, and in kashafa, there's hardly any difference. He said in classical Arabic there was a small difference. The small difference was when you use a passive form of the first form, which is like, for example, for kasara it'll be kusira. Kusira, you will imply that you don't know the doer, but you imply that doer, somebody has done it. You can discover it. You can potentially find out who he is. But when you use in kasara, same meaning. In kusira shubaku, the window was broken. Implies theoretically, at any rate, that the agent is discoverable. So the thing or the person that broke it can be discovered. That's in the classical Arabic. And in kasara normally means in kasara shubaku, the window broke. That suggests that the person or the thing has done it is indiscoverable. So it may have broken by itself or something like that, I think. Form 7, moving on, is not found in verbs beginning with hamza, ya, ra, lam, and noon. So you know the verbs which have root letters. First root letter is either hamza, noon, ra, lam, and noon. They don't have form 7. That's what it says. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And here he says that this may cause be confusion at the start. Also, days you missed the first part of the lesson, so you need to watch the recording
Yes, sir.
to understand the first part. What book did you study, days, before studying this?
Before this, we have studied the Qutila one. Qitalu, Yaqtalu.
No, which book
Verb.
which you studied Arabic before? Yes.
Sir, that was I self-studied Medina Arabic book
Okay.
by Dr. V. Abdul Rahim.
Okay. Perfect. Form 8 is ifta'ala. 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 Yafta'ilu. So as you can see, the way this verb works is the hamza is inserted, then there's the first root letter, then the additional ta is inserted. Ifta'ala, yafta'ilu. So there's 2 additional letters in passive. In Madi, for example, those are hamza and ta, but ta comes after the first root letter. So it may take a bit of time to get used to it, but once you practice, you should be okay. So again, he always starts off with the third person. So it starts off with the masculine huwa, then it goes to feminine here, anta. Then it goes second person, anta, anti, and then it goes to first person, ana. So passive for this, ijtama'a means to assemble. In the past, it would be ana ijtama'tu, نحن اجتمعنا, أنت اجتمعت, أنتما اجتمعتما, أنتم اجتمعتم, أنت اجتمعتي, and so forth. And for mudare, it'll be أنا أجتمع, نحن نجتمع. Again, when you make it imperfect, the hamza here doesn't appear. It disappears. أنا أجتمع نحن نجتمع أنت تجتمع.
Sir, this is the same Hamza which we use with the al, right?
Yes, Hamzatul Wasl is called, yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah, and so forth. And then for imperative for fi'l amr is ishtama. Again, okay, I'm not going to explain how you should be able to work out. Ishtami'i, passive file is mujtami'un, maf'ul is mujtama'un, verbalized is istima'un. Okay, passive is ujtumi'a, ujtumi'a, ujtumi'tu, ujtumi'na, ujtumi'ta, and so forth. And for imperfect is yujtama'u, ujtama'u, ana ujtama'u, nahnu nujtama'u, anta tujtama'u, and so forth. So here there's going to be some changes. That ta introduced after the first radical, so the additional ta, which is if, talk about this here, this ta, if ta'ala ijtama'a, right? It goes under certain changes if the first radical is of certain letters. This is more like the tajweed and how the Arabic is pronounced, really. So if the first radical is one of the emphatic letters, which is these four, sa, bod, to, zwa, the ta is changed into ta. Okay, this is assimilated to a ta or dha, which is then written with a tashdid. Okay, so for example, sana'a, it means to make. Okay, so sana'a means to make, istana'a. So here, it was originally istana, istana. But because because the rule is that if the first article is sa da ta za, this change, the ta changes into ta, so it becomes istana'a, istana'a, right? This changes into the other ta. Daraba, strike, changes into ittaraba. Again, it was it daraba, right? Just that. But because of the starting with dot, as we mentioned here, it changes into this dot. Ittaraba. And it just takes a bit of time to get used to it. So so you get used to it. So then he says when if he starts with ta or za, then you simply this ta will change to ta or za and it's become shadda. So tala'a means to rise, it becomes ittala'a. So originally it was ittala'a. So this becomes ta and becomes shadda. So it becomes ittala'a. Zalama, to be dark, comes is dolama or ittolama. You could use either. Any questions? You'll get it's just gonna take a bit of time to get used to it. It's a bit different than others. Also continues with the potential changes. This verb may go under depending on what's the first root letter. is moves on to something else. It moves. If the first radical is dal, zal, za, this the ta is softened. The additional ta is softened to dal. This is assimilated to a dal, which is then written with a tashdid. So daraka becomes id daraka. Okay. So it was normally originally it daraka it daraka. I think it's if you could if it's this is hard to pronounce anyway. It becomes it daraka. So this that goes it changes into dal and it becomes shadda. So it becomes it daraka. Zahama become is it was Zahama becomes Izdahama because one of the letters, so the ta changes into dal. Zahara becomes Izdahara or Iddahara. So this is important to know in a way because when you come across something like this, when you becomes like Iddaraka, you may need, because if you don't know what it means, you will need to have an idea of what the root letters are, because when you go to dictionary, you search the meaning by root letters. So here, when you look at it, you think, oh, what verb can that be? You know, it can't be verb 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it was there may be additional da, maybe the root letters of dal, ra, kaf. If the first radical is sa, it's sometimes assimilated with ta and becomes sabata, for example, becomes is sabata or ittabata. Okay. Meaning patterns, form 8, we're talking form 8, not 7, is the most elusive form at this point of view. And it is difficult to pinpoint the meaning pattern. Daraba means to strike, it daraba means to be disturbed or shaken. Hamala means to carry, ihtamala means to bear, the sense of endurance or something like that. Harama means to forbid, ihtarama means to respect. So sometimes here, in a way, it's the meaning is sort of reversed from what I take it. So daraba means to strike, it daraba means to be disturbed or shaken. So you're not hitting somebody, you disturb yourself. Hamala means to carry. I'm not sure how it's that reversed, to be honest, but harama, to forbid. So you forbid somebody, ihtarama, you respect somebody. So it's sort of meaning is kind of reversed in a way. It is often the same meaning as the form root form. So it says often the meaning is same as with the form 1. So basima means to smile. Ibtasama means to smile is the same meaning. Okay, so continuing on. So it says it can be reflexive of the simple verb, similar to form 7. So Java means to collect, Ishtawa means to collect themselves, assemble. Samia means to hear, right? And Istamia means to hear yourself, which means to listen. Shagila means to occupy, keep busy. So Ishtagala will mean to keep, occupy yourself. So which you become busy. So it means to be busy. So reflexive, I think we covered in last lesson, which essentially means the meaning returns back to yourself. Number C, it also has a sense of doing something for oneself. Kasaba means to acquire, iktasaba means to acquire, iktasaba means to gain. Kashafa to uncover, iktashafa mean to discover. Okay, so you're doing it, it's like meaning, but you sort of making it, so you're doing it yourself. Bada means to initiate, ibtada'a to means to invent. Okay, so form part D. This, like you said, its meaning is diverse, so that's why it's still talking about this. There's occasional. So in form 6, we said, the relationship is, the action is in relationship to another person. So for example, qatala means to fight, qatala means to fight each other. So here it could have similar meaning. So khasama means to strive. Ikhtasama means to strive with one another. Sharaka means form 3 meant to take part with. Ishtaraka means to contribute towards, participate. So you're taking part together. And that's why sharikatun, it means a company. Okay, so another thing he mentions here is if the final root letter is the in the perfect, so in Madi, because we also have the of ana and so forth. If that's the case, then the root letter and the other ta, the additional ta, will join together. So it becomes ana iltafattu. Okay, because it was originally ana iltafattu, because the root letter was lam, fa, and ta. That was the root letters. Okay, and because of that, when we done iltafattu, the both are ta, so they join together, so it becomes iltafattu, iltafatta, and so forth.
So this is very complicated.
Yes, it's practice. That's why I said when it started off, it's complicated. It's all where you're not gonna come across lots of different verbs, in this, and lots of variation. It's but it's something it's come through practice. The key is you go through a few times, and review it maybe a week later, and then it's the more questions you do, the more you start reading, because I'm gonna show you how to use a dictionary as well. Then it becomes okay. Then it becomes second nature. So okay, similar assimilation with if the root letter is takes place where the root letter is dal and ta, and even if it's zal, dal, the, this is more tajweed really, and it's more about tajweed, because the shaddas and stuff like that you normally do in tajweed. So here you're just learning pronunciations and how it was written and stuff like that. So this is not essentially grammar. This is more to do with how, well, I'm not sure call it grammar maybe, but you're not really learning a rule as such. It's more about if certain letter comes, how you pronounce it, and how you write it and stuff. Akada, for example, akada becomes akatu. Okay, so what happens? Qadadtu, right? That's why normally it becomes aqadtu, right? And you know, in Arabic, we learn in Quran, obviously, if the word has shadda, we join directly shadda onto the next letter. That's what happens. So it becomes aqadtu. Because the way Arabic works is sometimes words which are very close to Makharij, if they're very close in pronunciation, you know, they become like, it becomes like shadda in Arabic. So instead of saying aqadtu, it becomes aqadtu. And in basata, for example, becomes anta in basatta. So again, the scene, the fatha on the seam joins directly onto ta, becomes shadda. Or in basattu, ba'attu, he says here, but you also, you know, we also seen ba'athu before, so I haven't seen this used much. So again here, because it's close to Makharij, close to pronunciation, it doesn't pronounce sa, it joins directly onto ta. But I've seen sa being pronounced, to be honest, so not too sure. But again, it's more because the more we practice, it becomes second nature. Let's quickly do some vocabulary, and then we can do some questions. And basically, just want to let you know that obviously this class, it's been going on for a while, so we are perhaps coming towards the end. So there's going to be a few more lessons, and when I feel that okay, it's all you need from this book, then I'm gonna probably share some resources with you for you to study further if you want to. And that study will be not from English books, it will be more from Arabic book. And also, I'm going to show you how to use a dictionary, so you can start finding words yourself when you read a book, for example. And I'm going to share a book for you. It's Qisasun Nabiyin, which is the stories of the prophets. It's written for children. It's a good starting book. You can read the book, and when you struggle with any meaning, I'm going to show you how to use a dictionary, so you can go and find the meaning yourself. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So vocabulary: kasama, yaksimu, to divide, kismun, aksamun. For example, aksamun. For example, when you're looking at dictionary, dictionary works by root letters. You're going to look for kasama. But we're going to do it anyway. Iza means behold, see, iza, be, you know, you could use interchangeably. Iza, izan, qadamun, aqdamun, foot, part of body or measurement. Shabun means youth. And broken plural is shubbanun. Mithlun, amthalun is a broken plural. If the noun take any following in genitive. So this is like uses mudaf and mudaf like. So for example, misluka means like you. Mislu rajulin, like a man. Akhirun, last, recently. Akhiran means recently. Sorry, akhirun means last or recent. Akhiran means recently, finally. Siyasiyun means political. Noun is siyasatun. Siyasatun. Plural of noun siyasat. I think it should be siyasatun. No problem. So I'll give you to learn this on your own time. Fransa, Francis, Tawiyun, France means Fransa means France. Neki Fransa is to please yanbasitu, like you mentioned. And if you want to say with, normally is usually with min. In tarafa means to depart, go away. In kasara means to be broken. In kashafa means to be disclosed. In hazami means to be defeated. So if you look at the meaning, normally it's passive. In aqada, to be tied, to be held. In qalaba means to be overturned. Iftakara, form 8, means to think. Iktaraba means to approach. If you use min, means with. Fakkara, yufakkiru means form 2. It means to think about. Okay, so it comes from the same. So that's just an additional note basically. Iltafata means to turn, to pay attention. Ittaraba means to be disturbed. And so forth. Okay, intazara means to wait, expect. Itarafa means to be recognized. Intasara to means victorious. Ihtarama to respect. Ishtaghala means to be busy, occupied. Ijtama'a means to gather together. So that's what al-ijtima'u comes from. Question 1. قد انبسطنا من الانكشاف هذه الدراهم في الجنيهة. So give me 1 second, let me do something. Just give me a second.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So who wants to? Suresh, you want to have a go at this?
Yes, sir, I can try. Qad is indeed, but we will. Qad is like Anbasatna is like to be pleased. Min al inkishafi is from the disclosure. Hazihi is this. Darahin is from darham, the money. Fi junniyati is the
Junaynati. Junaynati.